Right, here we go then. On with the next one. This is one that I've been asked to do by a couple of people on one or two koi groups, so I thought we'd do it, and it is on Carp Pox and Hikui. Before we get to that, just a few quick things to think about. We are in March, so do not forget, at the end of the day, parasites are now starting to multiply, and this is the time of the year when all of a sudden people start developing issues and problems over parasites. So keep watching your fish and make sure that if you get any issues, you get them sorted before they become a big problem. Also, don't forget that at this time of year, if you want to go back and have a look at how your filtration works, if you're not sure, if you do, awesome. But don't forget, it is the time of the year when your biofilm has shrunk and shrunk and shrunk and needs to multiply. And sometimes you go outside, nice warm days, the fish are shouting for food, you feed them, and that's when we can start getting things like ammonia and nitrite spikes. If that's the case, pop along to your local dealer, explain to them what you've got going off, if you're not sure yourself that is, and you can put some PSB in there and get the problem sorted. But do keep an eye on both of those things. This time of year, one of the subjects that we're talking about tonight is quite prevalent, and that is carp pox. So what is carp pox? Where does it come from? How do you sort it out? Let's have a look at it. So carp pox, if you're not sure, is a little lesion that basically can be anything from almost like a ball, small waxy ball, to even sometimes quite a plate-like looking waxy substance, but always smooth and always looks waxy. Where does it come from? Well, it's a virus that basically the closest thing we have to it in human form is your cold sore. So it's herpes virus. The koi generally, as a rule, unless it's severely bad, doesn't even know it's got it. It's not doing it any harm really, and it will go on its own as soon as the temperature rises. Now, nobody understands why you can have even koi, sibling koi from the same spawning, and one will be predisposed already to carp pox and another one will never see it in its life. Certain varieties seem to be more susceptible than others, but basically how it works is if you've got it in a young koi, that koi can get it every single year as the temperature drops, but each year it will gain greater immunity and eventually probably never even see it again once it gets to 3-4 years old. However, if you've got a koi that is about 4 or 5 years old and it still gets carp pox every winter, that koi, I can guarantee you, is always going to get it every single winter. There is no cure for it, no treatment for it. You'll get some people say you can put salt in and that gets rid of it and blah 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 blah. Absolute nonsense. All the salt is doing is matching the salinity level better for the koi to actually let its osmosis system work, drawing in fluids, etc., taking away stress, which can sometimes relieve some of the symptoms, but it will not get rid of it. There is no way you can sort out carp pox like that. It will go on its own as the temperature rises. However, there are things that you can do to help your koi, and that is when you're going into winter, first of all, before winter, sorry, make sure that your fish are in good health and you're giving them the best diet that you possibly can through the summer months. But once we start going into winter, you need to be feeding foods that are probiotic and will also have that immune booster in there. It just helps the koi itself to keep off the effects of carp pox. But that is basically carp pox. It's just one of those things that nobody really understands fully. All we know it is part of the herpes virus, and like I say, it will go on its own as the temperature rises. It's not very nice for us to see, but at the end of the day, it's not very nice for the koi to have either. If I told you that it's not contagious, I would be lying. It is contagious, but very rarely does it spread from one koi to another. It's generally, if you see it suddenly appear on one koi, a new addition, it's because that it's already predisposed to carp pox. But if I tell you it is not contagious, then I would be lying. Okay, Hikui, completely different thing. So Hikui, when you look at Hikui, it generally has the form of more like a rough stone. It can grow very, very big, and then it will take on the form of like a cauliflower looking sort of to me. It's a horrible thing. It is really a skin cancer. It has its connections in the herpes virus, and one that is probably better known that it's linked to, not is, but is linked to, is KHV. Okay, these viruses and different things like that all have different sort of, if you imagine branches of a tree, a lot of them come from different forms of viruses and mutate, etc. However, when we are talking Hikui, although it does originate from the herpes virus, it is a complete separate thing that now is, if you are looking at it in its true form, it is skin cancer. It's that simple. Cures for it? Not really. You can cut it out surgically, you can freeze it, but I can tell you pretty much now, whatever you do with that, it will come back. It is one of those things that's not that treatable. Okay, that's Hikui really in a nutshell. So if it's carp pox, it's smooth and waxy. If it's Hikui, it's rough, and in serious forms can actually look like a cauliflower collet, that sort of thing. Carp pox, leave it alone, it will go. If you've got a koi with carp pox that's 4 or 5 year old and it still gets it every year, it's going to get that for the rest of its life. Small koi, junior koi, tozai, tiny little thing, if it turns out with carp pox, generally, as a rule, they'll get it every winter, but each year it gets it, it builds up its immunity, unless it is one of those koi that's going to have it for the rest of its life. But a lot of the time it'll build up its own immunity, and eventually one year it just won't have it. So Hikui, like we say, it's a rough looking, basically skin cancer. Nothing you can do with it. You can have it treated, cut out by a vet, you can have it frozen, but I can guarantee you it will come back. It's just one of those things. Is it contagious? Again, if I told you it wasn't, I'd be lying. But generally, as a rule, you can have a fish that's got Hikui in your pond and it will not contaminate the others. That's not to say it isn't contagious, because it is, but generally as a rule you're fairly safe with it. That's it. Hope that helps, and hope you enjoyed the short video without diving off down a rabbit hole, and I'll catch you on the next one.